So I'm almost back after having almost found the Kennedy compound, but that actually was not the Kennedy compound. I ended up going down that road. It was less than a quarter mile down, and nobody was down it, so I decided I'll just go ahead and go down and see what's down there. And the worst anybody can do is just say leave. There was no wall with the wooden gate, and then that particular road kind of bent dogleg to the left, and there was a big open area, so that's where I parked my car. I walked around, and I didn't think I was on private property, actually. I sat on this big driftwood log and began riding, on the other side of the jetty. And then on the other side of the jetty was where I saw the bay window, and then the guard came. So when I drove down this road, I'll show you a picture of the house that I found. There were bushes, not a wall, and it was open. There was no gate, and they're redoing it, and it looks nothing like the actual Kennedy house, which has three, not gables, but peaks in the front, and is much bigger. And the road did not go to the left. Oh, excuse me a second. I'm sorry about the beeps. Sometimes I drive on the line and it doesn't beep. Sometimes I do and it does. I don't know. All right. I don't think I have anything more on the Kennedy compound. I did go to the Kennedy Library. I think it was the 25th anniversary of JFK's assassination. That would have been November 22nd, 1988. And I didn't go for the actual, there was actually sort of a memorial ceremony, and I believe John Jr., Caroline, and Jackie were there, but it would have been probably by invitation only, or very, very crowded. But I do recall either I went on that day before or after the ceremony. I did not see them. And I love museums. I've been back ever since. And some of the best museums are, those are stories for another time. The Boston Museum of Fine Arts, Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. I never went to the Fogg Museum. I think it's on the campus of Harvard. I did not go on that and go see that, and would like to go. The Museum of Natural Science, definitely. Anyway, we'll take a museum tour at some point if we have time. So some more stories about some musical stories, and I'll have to do these all in categories. So many of the people that came, I actually spoke with my friend E a few hours earlier today, and we kind of reminisced about who all had come to play for the production company. So there was I recall Arlo Guthrie, Woody Guthrie's son, played a whole lot. He made this, that song famous from, was it Alice's Restaurant? I think they actually used it in the sitcom. But anyway, that was at Sanders Theater at Harvard. Now, just to let you know, backing up to Sanders Theater, when I said that peak was Sanders Theater, that's not. That's actually the foyer in between Independence Hall, which, by the way, Independence Hall has these huge, huge paintings. I think they're portraits, maybe full-body portraits of either people who went to Harvard or great leaders that influenced people at Harvard. I don't remember. And you can't get in now unless you have a key card and are a student assigned to that particular cafeteria. And it's got beautiful stained glass windows. So, and then in the foyer there is a rosette at each end of the foyer of stained glass, which is huge, and they have memorialized the people who had attended Harvard who died in various wars. I think the Revolutionary War and my GPS is high on something. Anyway, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the War of 1812, I think, possibly World War I. Okay, I know where I am. All right. And if you saw the movie Glory with, I believe it was Danny Glover and Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick had played he was the leader of either the first or the only all-black regiment during the Civil War for the Union. Well, he had attended Harvard, and this particular, I think he was a captain. His name is actually on that wall, and so I don't know it right now. If I went and looked it up or looked up the movie, I could remember it. But I recall when Arlo came to play, now I've done a few of these takes. I might have said this already, but just in case I didn't. My in-laws came. They really liked that. They were big Arlo fans. And I remember Nolan Ryan was in town, and we at least were holding tickets for Nolan Ryan. I don't know if he ever showed up for it or not. A couple of years after I had been here, I thought I might be moving back to Oklahoma. And during one of the outdoor festivals at the DeCordova Museum, which now they don't have that stage anymore. I apologize for my hair. So Livingston Taylor was playing at one of those, and we had a great conversation, and I said something about going back to Oklahoma. He said, "You're going back to Oklahoma? Well, we're going to take a picture." So he took a selfie with one of those old Kodak cameras. You know, he had pretty good aim too. And I think I put that up on social media at one point. Not long after that, I decided to stay because my parents had moved to Albuquerque. There was a poetry reading at Sanders, and the producer's wife could not go with him, so he asked me to go. They were like they still are like a big brother and sister, and so I always took very, very good care of me. When we got there, Liv was there, and he motioned us over. We got to sit with him. He said, "I thought you were going back to Oklahoma." I said, "Well, decided to stay." He said, "Well, lucky us," or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And I actually still have that playbill. It did survive Harvey, James Taylor, Susan Lucci, Christopher Walken, and Stockard Channing, I believe. I can't recall any of the other ones, but they were a lot of the readers. We did not get to meet James afterwards, but that would have been kind of cool. Tom Rush, who sang "Wasn't That a Mighty Storm" about the Galveston storm of 1900, was at one of these festivals at the DeCordova, and so the production company and staff got to be backup vocals. So we got to, clap our hands and stomp our feet and whatnot, and sing the chorus with him, which was fun. A lot of people came. I remember Jonathan Price, who sang "Sunshine Go Away Today." A lot of people I didn't know, like Farron, Trent Fury, Chris Williamson. Doc Watson, the father of bluegrass. I'm sorry, Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass. And Doc Watson, who was visually impaired but played the acoustic guitar beautifully. Both of them have already passed on now. I can't remember who else. And there was a really funny Kathy Mattea. She sang Kathy Mattea sang 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses. She performed at the Berkeley the first time. She came another time, but I don't remember where she performed. And she and her backup singer Christy and E, the DJ from WUMB, and one of Kathy's best friends who had driven up from, I think, the Cape. I don't know if they had known each other since childhood or college or what. Anyway, we were telling stories, just really laughing a lot. I think I uploaded a picture on social media. But this friend said to Kathy, an old flame is sitting in the audience, and so somebody was opening, and we all ran upstairs, stage right, and she pointed to Kathy, who the fella was, about 5 rows back on the other side, about 10 rows or 10 seats towards us. Kathy said, there's I don't know if it was a breakup song or a He Done Me Wrong song. I don't remember what it was. She said, there's a perfect song, and when I sing that, I'll be looking at him the whole time. So we watched her show from the wings, and afterwards, Kathy said, so he was smiling the whole time at me when I sang at him, and he didn't know what hit him. It was really cute. I have to say that all of the musicians who came were always so great to work with. They had wonderful senses of humor. Just, when Kathy did that, she wasn't making fun of this person or being ugly or anything. Everybody was just fun and relaxed and very humble. I remember going out and eating with a lot of the acts afterwards. Nancy Griffith, I think she would have remembered me if I had called her up in Austin and said, I'd love to come see you. She probably would have said, come on over. But I didn't. I just thought she was touring. I didn't realize till later that she had some serious health issues and was probably at home a lot. And it wasn't till COVID that I kind of put 2 and 2 together. And by then, nobody was getting out. And, so, and then she passed away during COVID, which was too bad. But I remember taking her into WGBH. They had a PBS TV station and then the PBS radio station. And Dick Pleasance, who was the host, was interviewing her. And I splashed water on her white stocking. She was wearing like a Gilligan and O'Malley, sort of a 1980s, it was a throwback to sort of the 1800s look dress, very, very cute. And she said, no, that's okay. I said, you can take your stockings off. Nobody will see you on the radio, and I'll wash them out. She said, that's okay. But she made this song from a distance, well before Bette Midler did, and was very good friends with Julie Gold, who wrote the music and lyrics for From a Distance. And one time Julie came to watch Nancy at the Berkeley, and we were talking. I said, that's a wonderful song. She said, I think that's my big hit. I once heard a person criticize this song, but it is a very beautiful song because it's saying, from a distance you can't see that there is war and discontent, and from a distance we really are much more similar than not. And I don't understand what all the fighting is about. It's a song about making peace with one another, finding, despite differing opinions or differing points of view, still finding that point of peace, of intersection. So it's a very good song. And I will mention this person's name. They have passed on. Doug Ashford was an amazing person. One of the many volunteers, as were G and K, and let's see. And then there was E, who was the secretary, and J, and we always laughed a whole lot. And J's husband, K, would come and volunteer. But anyway, Doug had us all over to his apartment one time, and he had a whole wall filled with LPs. I mean, I think it was more than hundreds. It must have been a couple of thousand LPs from all kinds of backgrounds. But we were watching Loudon Wainwright III perform, and in the song, I said, did he play cowboy on MASH? And Doug said only a diehard MASH fan would recognize him. He sang the theme song for MASH. He may have even written it, and was very, very nice. He was in a great movie called Elizabethtown with Susan Sarandon, who plays, why can't I think of his name? He was the elf. I think it was Legolas in The Lord of the Rings. Why can't I think of his name? And he was in Pirates of the Caribbean. You know who I'm talking about. He's married to, is it Katy Perry? Yeah, I think he's married to Katy Perry now. I don't think of his name. Okay. I want to say Oliver something, but it's not. So his father passes away. Susan Sarandon's his mother. He meets Kirsten Dunst on the airplane, who's a flight attendant, and she decides to go with him to his father's funeral. And he hadn't spoken to his father in years. He had worked for a company, sort of a Nike type company out in the Northwest, and had made a name for himself, and had invented some tennis shoes that were basically a flop. So when he got the bad news about his dad, he thought he'd take a little bit of a hiatus and kind of get his life straightened out. Well, Loudon Wainwright III plays his uncle and does a great job. And there's this scene, it's one of the funniest scenes that we would replay a lot and watch. The father who had passed away had wanted Freebird played at his funeral. And so, why can't I think of his name? Anyway, the main characters, one of his high school buddies and their band play Freebird. And this bird is supposed to fly across, on a guide wire, across the reception hall where they're at, and somehow it ends up catching on fire. The funny thing is, the sprinklers go off and the band keeps playing while this bird is on fire, and everybody's screaming for their life to get out of the reception hall. Anyway, you've got to watch it. I'll think of his name in just a second. Orlando Bloom. There we go. Okay, so anyway, there are so many more stories. I have got to stop. It's time for me to go to bed here, not too long from now. I'm going to put a pause here, and thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more to come. Take care.